get started with game week here. You guys are ready. We're ready. Missouri's ready. The whole country's ready to get going. So it's exciting to be able to open up with with a Power 5 conference school SEC opponent, especially one that's won the SEC East 2 out of the last 4 years. These guys are. It's a great program. I've been competing against Missouri dating back to 2000. So they've had really good football teams over the years. Had as much continuity in the country for going on about 15 years with Gary Pinkel and all that. Obviously, last year a lot of transition. I think it's pretty well documented. It's their. They went through a lot of transition. They went through a lot. They had a lot of distractions. Don't let the 5-7 record fool you at all. This is a really good football team. They were extremely competitive last year. With defensively, with Coach Odom, with Barry Odom coming over from Memphis. He's a long-time Missouri guy. Played there. It's been around that program for a long time. Understands what that program's all about. Spent 3 years at Memphis. Was part of that turnaround at Memphis as the defensive coordinator. So was a good hire for Missouri to bring him back, and did a great job last year as the defensive coordinator. Very deserving to be the head coach based on what he's done. So don't anticipate them to change a whole lot defensively. They got 7-8 guys coming back from a year ago where they were, again, one of the best defenses in the country. Just a really good defense. And got a lot of those guys coming back. Everything for them starts up front. Their D-line was arguably one of the best D-lines in the country last year, and they got the majority of the guys coming back. So it's going to be a challenge for us offensively. Everything starts with us up front. We think we're decent up front. Well, we're going to get tested real quick here in about 4 days. So anxious to see how we do against that D-line. They got a couple of starters returning, but it goes with Charles Harris. He's one of the best D-linemen in the country. He's a pass rush guy. He's a physical guy. He's good against the run. Surprised he didn't come out a year ago. Would have been a first rounder last year, and is obviously going to be every bit as good this year. Their middle linebacker, 30. Everything goes with him. He's got a ton of starts under his belt. He runs the show. You can see on video him directing traffic and all that. So they got 2 really good players coming back, and then another 5 or 6 to 8 guys that have considerable playing time. It's going to be a challenge for us offensively. They only gave up 300 yards a game last year, and it's going to be the same group pretty much this year as it is next year. So we'll see if we've improved on offense. It's not going to take very long to figure that out. Okay, offensively, looking for them to be more improved than they were last year. They switched up some coaching staff stuff, brought in Josh Heupel. I've known Josh for a long time. Competed against him when he was at Oklahoma. Did a great job there. Was at Utah State where they were pretty dang good last year. So he's going to bring a type of offense that's going to be a little bit more spread it out and throw it around. And got some quality transfers that came in. The quarterback got thrown in the fire last year. The Lott kid. As a freshman, nobody wants to be able to stick a freshman in there if they don't have to. So he's going to be improved, and being able to have Coach Heupel come in and work with him, you're going to see improvement out of him. And then they got some skill kids, and the thing that sticks out about them is they've got some transfer guys. You never know how those guys are going to pan out. You got to expect for the best out of those guys. So looking for them to be improved on offense. Special teams, a little bit of an unknown as far as what they're going to do. You can't really pinpoint a specific guy who's coming in that you can take some work and figure out what they're going to do. So, like every opening game, we need to be pretty aware of what's going on. Whether it's special teams, whether it's what they do offensively, or any changes that they're going to make defensively. We got to get that figured out real quick. In-game adjustments are going to be huge. being able to communicate on the sidelines as far as what they're doing and being able to get those adjustments to our players are going to be extremely important. Other than that, should be a great atmosphere in Morgantown. Noon kick. Against an SEC team, I think everybody's going to be excited about that. I know our coaching staff and our players, our team is excited about the challenge. So with that, take some questions.
And how much tempo do you expect them to run offensively with the Heupel coming in?
Oh, I think a lot. If you look back, what he's done, that's kind of his background. He's been an up-tempo, kind of spread it out kind of guy. He's incorporated a lot of run game with it. Like I said, we got to be ready for everything. They got some coaches from some different schools that are coming together, and they're going to merge their ideas. I don't know what that's going to be. Like I said, we got to kind of look at it and figure it out. Wasn't privy to being able to watch any of their practices or be in any of their meetings, so don't know what to expect. We got to be able to figure it out.
Any true freshmen who will play for you? Have you decided?
I've got 9 or 10 guys that potentially will. Obviously, we know Kennedy McCoy will. He'll play a good bit. There's a question mark on Martell Pettaway. He was hurt for the majority of camp, so he's going to dress. If we need him, we'll use him. Smothers will dress. If we need him, we'll use him. Marcus Sims will play. Defensively, Zach Sandwich, Dylan Tonkery, Adam Hensley, Reese Donahue, Giovanni Stewart will all dress, and we anticipate all of them will play. All the junior college guys and first-year guys, they're all slated to play as well.
Do you feel comfortable with that number? Would you like not to play that many?
I do, because none of those guys I mentioned have to start. Okay, if we're having to start a bunch of freshmen, if we're having to start a bunch of first-year junior college guys, then I would be a little nervous about that. But I've referenced this. We have a lot of new guys, and we're gonna all hands on deck. Let's go. Let's play. But we're starting 9 seniors and 2 juniors on defense, and then offensively, I think it's 7 seniors and a couple of juniors and a couple of sophomores that have experience. So all these new guys were recruited to add depth, which is what they are. And a lot of those true freshmen coming in, I think our recruiting has been pretty good, and those guys are going to be able to do a lot of special teams work and just add depth where you need it. You need a lot of these guys to play.
Your overall health?
Good, other than the long-term guys. Everybody's cleared and are playing, other than the long-term guys that have had surgery. Fern's had surgery a couple of days ago. Drayvon's scheduled to have it, I believe, here in another day or two. Jake Long had shoulder surgery. Pegues and Fields. Those guys have obviously been healing up. So yeah, everybody's ready to go. There's no long-term guys.
Coach, you were talking a few minutes ago about trying to figure out what they're going to do. You do that on a week-to-week basis with each team. I was kind of wondering, is that part of the fun of it for you? And what
No, it sucks.
What kind of things do you draw upon, to figure?
Well, you got to use resources, make phone calls, dig up old film. We watch old Oklahoma film on offensively. Last year's Utah State film. We brought up and watched some TCU stuff because Coach Cross came over from TCU on the defensive side of the ball. And we know all that stuff, and we're watching it and we're looking at it. It's still a guessing game. I got news from Missouri too. What we're doing on all 3 sides of the ball should probably be a little bit of a guessing game for them too. Based on the fact that we've had 8 months to be able to make adjustments and look at our personnel as far as what we got, what we do well, and what we feel like we need to do in order to be successful. So, you know, that's just part of the game. You know, everybody has to deal with it game one. You know, once you start getting a little bit of a body of work from the previous game, the previous couple games, the previous 3 games, then you kind of start to figure it out a little bit more, but so does the opponent. So.
How does it suck?
Well, because you don't know. I mean, as opposed to just preparing for this, you got to prepare for this. And you only get 20 hours in a week.
Right.
So there's only so much time in the day that you can have to be able to figure out what they do. So having a better idea of what they're going to do just makes you sleep better at night. I've prepared our guys to be able to defend this or attack this, and you feel pretty good about that. But when you really can't give your players answers, definitive answers, as far as this is what you're going to see, it keeps you up.
You anticipate right tackle, both of those guys playing?
Yeah, they'll both play. You know, Marcel will get to start. Colton will play. Wouldn't you know, if we need to take Yadney out, you know, to calm him down or whatever, he's going against the top 10 pick, you know, in the league. You know, then we could possibly move him over, Colton over to the other side. He'll be our swing guy. You know, and you know, the same thing will happen at guard with Grant Lingenfelter. I mean, he'll play both guards. Grant's done a good job. You know, and we'll be able to put him in there a little bit as well.
And with regard to what you do and maybe how things change, how do you feel about your tight ends right now, and how does that, I don't know, maybe add or alter what you like to do offensively?
Yeah, I mean, they're young guys right now. I mean, you got guys that really haven't played yet, you know, and Stone's Wolfley's done a good job. He's got himself in position where he's going to see some action. Wesco's not quite ready yet. He missed the first 3.5 weeks of camp, so he's just not quite ready yet. Michael Ferns will take a snap or two at tight end as well. He's a little undersized, so you don't have that 5th-year senior presence like you had with Cody. You know, where we were going to do some, a lot of tight end stuff just because he was a guy that has that much experience. So, got to see how it looks. We'll put him out there and see what happens, and then go from there.
Dana, in light of all the points that need to be scored in your conference, what will you be looking for this weekend in particular from your defense to show improvement? In any particular area?
Well, show improvement from what, I don't know, because there's a lot of new guys out there. I mean, last year's group had a different dynamic to it than this year's group. What I'm really anxious to see defensively is just kind of how we play together and how we handle adversity, because there's a lot of first-time starters. They're not really first-time players; they're first-time starters. And I'm really anxious to see how they rise up when things are tough and how they play together. So how many points is he going to take to win? I don't know. I don't know how much improved Missouri is on offense. I'm anticipating them to be improved on offense. We'll just kind of take it and see what it looks like and go from there.
And you mentioned the adjustments. Tony Gibbs said a few weeks ago wasn't real comfortable with making a ton with his defense right now on the fly because of how young they are. Have you seen them kind of close that gap as campus progresses?
To correct them, we're not young. I mean, again, that's the difference in where we're at right now as opposed to where we were 4 years ago when we had to play all those freshmen. All those freshmen just went to the NFL. We're playing guys, older guys like Al Benton that has a lot of experience. Al started a game before. Justin Art's played, it seems like he's been here longer than I have. Sean Walters, I think Sean's 30 at this point. I mean, we got guys that have been here for a while, and the D-line, I mean, all the starters are all seniors, played a lot of ball for us. Look at the secondary, I mean, we got Harper. Harper's been here longer than me. He was in this building before I was. So we got guys. Nana has been here for a long time. Nana was playing. We watched film a punt return clip of Tavon the other day, and Nana was in that game. Wearing the old uniforms, So we got guys that have been here. We're not young. We're experienced. That's why we just got to see how they play together. How much volume they can handle. That's Gibby's job. Trust him immensely with it. He'll get those guys in position to be successful.
Dana, how comfortable are you with the
Teo in there, and wondering about Panky, have you decided on how long his suspension?
Yeah, Panky has served a 1-game suspension, anticipating him being back next week, okay? With that said, I couldn't feel better about his replacement. The truth of the matter is when Tony got hurt after week 1, he was arguably our best guard after week 1. So it gave us a little bit of a hit with depth, but you know, by having Matteo out, that shoved Grant Lingenfelter in there to rep a lot, and I've seen a lot of improvements with Grant. So now Grant's our swing guy, you know, and then a week from now we'll get Packy back, and they'll give us even more depth.
And going back to Justin's question about being fooled and, you know, not knowing what to expect. What's the worst you've been surprised by somebody where they came out totally different than what you expected, and how did that go?
I can't reference anything. I can't remember who we opened up with last year.
Neither, but that's my hate.
Yeah, well, that's our train of thought going forward on exactly what we're seeing. It again, you know, people want to make a big deal about it. It's happened a good bit. You know, 2 years ago we opened up with Alabama. I think it was Kiffin's first year. So what are they going to do? You know, what offense are they going to run? I mean, it's only so much you can do, honestly. Offensively and defensively, there's only really so much you can do. So I don't think the element of the surprise is really going to give you that much of a competitive advantage. You know, we all do this for a living. We're all professionals. I think everybody's going to be able to figure out exactly what those, you know, what the wrinkles are and all that, and be able to adjust to it fairly quickly.
That said, do you have to be careful not to overload the kids with too many options and say, here are 50 things they could do, but try to whittle it down to 10?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we got to be careful about that. We talked about that in the staff meeting this morning. I mean, we introduced Missouri last year and we went through it, but we'll really introduce our game plan today. And you got to be careful about giving them too much to think about. You know, I think the first game, because of the dynamics that exist with it, I think you got to worry a little bit more about yourself than you do the opponent. Again, you got to do your due diligence and you got to prepare your kids and all that. You better worry about yourself and your frame of mind and what you got going on.
This front you're facing, where does it stack up with some of the better fronts that you've gone up against? Is there a point of comparison?
I tell you, looking at it from last year, it's arguably the best D-line defensive front. It's arguably one of the best ones I've ever seen. I mean, they have one of the linebackers, NFL guy, you know, another one of the linebackers, a ton of starts. But where they're real dudes are the D-line. I mean, and not only were they, you know, just like with the one guy, the Harris kid, obviously he's a top 10 pick, but they got some young D tackles that are going to be big time guys. You know, and their depth was really good. They rotated 10, 12 guys in there last year at times. So a lot of depth, and it's pretty much the same guys. I know they've lost a couple of guys. They still got plenty of them. So it's every bit as good as anything I've seen.
Is the Kenny Young competition, is it pretty close?
I'm sorry?
Kenny and Dilly Kenny?
Yeah, yes, it has been. You know, and again, things can happen in practice today and tomorrow. I mean, right now, if I got to say get in there and punt, it's going to be Billy Kenny. With that said, John Young's a freshman. That's going to continue to get better and better. So, you know, I'm excited about that competition because you have that kind of competition at spots that makes people better. So I would anticipate John to go out there and you know, work his tail off here for the next couple of days. Get dressed, he'll be available, he'll be ready to go. So I like that competition. I think they're both pretty dang good.
Similarly, Dana, that first game could be kind of scary for coaches because anything can happen on returns or catching punts. How do you, with a lot of new guys, not only the skill positions there, but coverage teams, Can you ever practice it enough to feel good about it? Do you feel good about it?
You can't practice kickoffs and stuff like that. I mean, you can drill them. You can go against scout teams. You can, see. There's a lot of space in the kicking game. So yeah, it's a concern with new guys, but like I said, I think our roster's pretty healthy, and we got enough people that have done it in the past to where